Title the card, he slid across the counter. He slid a little black card across a marble counter I'd just scrubbed and said real low, spend it on whatever you want. No rules, 3 days. If someone did that to you today, right now, what would you do with it? I'll tell you what I did, but first you need to know who put that card in my hand and why the next 72 hours turned a house made of glass into a mirror none of us could avoid. My name's June. I clean for a man named Cole Whitaker, the kind of rich that gets you called visionary in magazines you swear you don't read. His place sits up on a bluff over the bay, all glass blonde wood steel that never rusts. It's so clean it makes your thoughts feel messy. You know what I mean. I wasn't hired for my taste in art or my ability to pair a Pinot with lamb. I was hired because I show up early, I don't break things, and I keep my mouth shut when rooms get louder than they should. 6 months sober back then, a brother whose meds don't care that rent is due, a car that rattled like a loose tooth. That card felt like a dare. The universe whispered through a credit limit with no ceiling. Cole had 2 other women orbiting him, both wearing different kinds of gravity. Vivian, his girlfriend, the kind of pretty that turns heads in traffic, always filmed from the good side, always laughing like everything was on sale. And Cassidy, his executive assistant, sharper than a conference table corner. The person who can make 3 time zones apologize to each other. She could walk into a room and have the chairs sit up straight. One woman loved a spotlight, one woman loved a strategy. Me. I loved a clean stove and a quiet Tuesday. So when Cole said spend it, I thought he was joking. I actually laughed, a short cough of a laugh. Then he nodded like he expected a fight and had already forgiven me for losing it. I tucked the card into my apron like it might burn a hole if I gave it air. I finished my shift, wiped down the espresso machine that spits when it's in a mood, and sat in the little back room that smells like lemon oil and hot dust. There's a stool there where I treat stains like crimes, and on that stool I made a list in my head. A jacket that doesn't squeak, a real mattress, a dentist who doesn't ask for 2 paychecks up front. It would be a lie to say I didn't picture walking into one of those boutiques where the music's a soft secret, touching a dress that falls like water, letting someone call me ma'am without checking if I belong. I did picture it. Then it changed. Fast. I thought about Tammy from 4B, whose boys were doing math homework by the glow of the exit sign last night because her lights got cut. I thought about my brother's bus passes and the exact sick sound the machine makes when there's not enough on the card. I thought about the vet upstairs who can't make it to the VA because the transfer is a mess and walking hurts in the rain. And those kids at the church on 5th, the ones who pretend they're not cold because pride can be a coat if you wear it right. My hands knew before my head did. I put the card back in my apron, took the bus downtown, and bought a sack of oranges, 3 jugs of detergent, 5 day passes, 2 heated blankets, and a bouquet of daisies, because my mom loved them, and grief needs flowers as much as weddings do. If it were you, what would you have done? Meanwhile, and I didn't know this until later, there were 2 more cards out in the wild. Cole handed Vivian hers on a helipad because why not? And she squealed like a cartoon balloon called 5 Friends and booked a yacht in under an hour. He gave Cassidy hers in the glass office that makes the skyline look like a screensaver, and she blinked exactly once, then scheduled a spa, a tailor, and a rooftop mixer where the right men come shake the right hands. And here's the part that'll rub you, it rubbed me too. Cole told his head of security, a guy named Bryce who says sir like a period, to log the purchases and ping him with receipts. Not bedrooms, not bathrooms, nothing creepy, just a ledger of choices. Do you think that's fair? Protecting your heart with a spreadsheet. Hold that thought. Day 1. Vivian lived like a champagne bottle that forgot how to close. Private boutique, with lighting designed to forgive lunch with women who called each other babe like punctuation handbags that cost the car I was coaxing through third gear. She tipped a valet $500 because the man smiled with his whole face, then told her friends he was cute for a peasant. Those exact words got back to me in a text that made my palms sweat. Day 1, Cassidy sharpened her edges. Spa at 9 to make the armor shine, a seamstress who speaks fluent authority, a cocktail hour at sunset, where she introduced herself to executives from firms eyeing Cole's company and used the words closest advisor with a smile that could bend a room. Day 1 for me ended with a stop at the hospital billing desk to pay off a neighbor's balance, no name attached, just a warm printout, and a nurse who looked like she might cry. Day 2, more of the same, except the numbers got bigger, where they liked to get bigger, and stayed small, where they needed to stay close to the ground. Day 3. Well, day 3 is where the match hit the fuse. I got the text at noon dinner, 7 p.m. formal. Not a question. I borrowed a navy skirt from my neighbor Luce, who sells perfume with a voice that makes you believe her, pressed a blouse I keep for interviews that never happened, braided my hair using a YouTube tutorial that lied. The dining room in Cole's house is too long for people who tell the truth. The chandelier throws polite light, the table could seat a congressional hearing, the chairs make you sit up even if your soul wants to curl. He sat at the head in a shirt with the top button open, like a man who forgot how to pretend, Vivian in red to his left, Cassidy in black to his right, and a place for me down the line like a question he wasn't sure he wanted answered. We didn't toast. We didn't bless. We barely breathed. Cole set his palms on the table like he was steadying the ocean and said, 3 days ago, I gave each of you the same card and the same sentence. Spend it on whatever you want. No rules. Tonight I want to talk about what you wanted. Vivian laughed high and thin like a balloon string pulled too tight. Oh, come on, she said. You told me to enjoy it, to let loose. You live in a glass palace and you're judging me for shoes, really. She turned toward me like maybe the help would help her. June, isn't this weird? The way she said my name made it sound like something to bleach. He didn't raise his voice, didn't pound the table, just laid out a list like receipts read character. You rented a yacht because your hair photographs better against white. You filmed a server's accent for laughs. You tipped a valet, $500, and called him a peasant. The room went still. That's none of your business, she shot back, which usually means the business smells bad and someone forgot a candle. It became my business when it showed me who you are, he said, and I swear the chandelier flickered. She stood, shoved her chair back, clutched her clutch like it had a heartbeat. You're sick, she said. I'm done being blind, he answered. Yeah, that happened. She left heels, making the floor sound expensive. Then Cassidy. He didn't accuse her of wasting money. He accused her of spending it on herself in a way that left him out of the equation. You didn't throw parties, he said. You curated rooms, and in those rooms you positioned yourself as my voice. You weren't investing in us, you were investing in your exit. She sat very straight, adjusted a silver pin shaped like an arrow and said, Ambition isn't a crime. No, he said, but deception is. She stood, slowly smoothed her jacket, like she was ironing out, the moment glanced at me, the way scanners glance at barcodes, and said, So the saint wins, Cinderella's back in season, good luck, Mr. Whitaker. Then she walked out without slamming the door, which felt ruder. I didn't move. My water glass looked like a witness. My stomach felt like it forgot how to be useful. He turned to me, and for the first time that night, his face softened like a mask set down. I'm sorry, he said, for making you sit through that, for the way I did this. I'm not sorry for wanting to see what I couldn't see. I told him the truth that bubbled up before my fear could shut it down. I thought maybe this was a goodbye dinner. You've never invited me to this table. Suddenly, there was money and a place card, and I figured either miracle or fire drill. He exhaled like someone who'd been holding breath for years. Not goodbye, he said, beginning. Pattern interrupt. I froze. The next morning, he knocked on the door of the little staff lounge, the room with the microwave that hums judgment, and stood there in an old hoodie like a man trying out mortal. I'm not proud of the surveillance, he said, and I'm less proud of the ways I've acted like a person I wouldn't want to have dinner with. Then he asked why I didn't use the card for me. I told him I wanted to. I pictured a dress no one could judge, a pair of shoes that didn't squeak on marble, walking into a store that usually watches me and making them bring me water. But I passed the bus kiosk, saw a woman counting change like a rosary, remembered Tammy's boys and that church heater, and I thought, if this card disappears tomorrow, what do I want to remember? That I looked like I belonged in your world, or that someone else felt like they belonged in theirs. He closed his eyes, nodding like a wound finally got named. No one's ever said that to me, he whispered. Do you think money makes people forget how to say what matters? He asked me to come with him to an investor lunch, not as staff, as a person. I wore the blazer he bought me from a store where the salesgirl said classic, the way some folks say prayer. And we walked into a gallery where the art makes rich men feel mysterious. Heads turned twice, once for him, once because I didn't fit anyone's script. A venture guy with a haircut that costs a strategy asked what I do, and I told him the truth. I clean, I fix, I know where the house groans when it's tired. Cole handed me the floor, and my throat did that audible swallow thing. Then I told them what bus passes do to a Tuesday, what a heated blanket does to a January night, how a grocery stipend can turn a kid's report card from fog into shape. No slides, no buzzwords, just the slow truth. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. Here's the twist. And it knocked the boardroom off its axis. Cole moved to sign over the majority of his company shares to a neighborhood trust with me as chair. Read that again. Not a vanity nonprofit with a glossy brochure. A real trust with bylaws that bite money, ring-fenced for housing, food, transit, health. The boring necessities that save lives quietly. The legal team rolled in a document the size of a paving stone. The board used words like fiduciary and destabilizing and precedent, which is how people say we're scared to stop hoarding without sounding like villains. He listened, then he said something I want carved into a park bench someday. If what I built can't survive me being a person, it isn't a company, it's a symptom. And then he signed. The pen scratched like a match. Life didn't become a movie after that, unless your movies smell like coffee and wet cardboard and hope. We opened a pop-up market in a parking lot with crates of produce that looked like confetti, hired 3 moms who can run a line with military grace because they've run households without applause for years. We funded bus passes that auto-renew, paid off a dozen overdue electric bills, set up a clinic night at the church where the heater finally hums like it believes us. We also got sued and called names and interviewed by people who pretend questions are knives. Vivian filmed a car cry and said surveillance is abuse, which in some slants isn't wrong. Tell me in the comments where the line is for you. While Cassidy weaponized the words hostile and glass ceiling, even though she had built plenty of ladders herself. My face showed up on thumbnails with gold digger in ugly fonts. For the record, gold turns me green. One night on the back porch, we finally got quiet enough to hear our own choices. He asked me what winning looks like, and I told him, winning is a teenager named Trevor not skipping school because his boots leak in November. It's Tammy's boys doing homework under a lamp that doesn't buzz. It's my brother's bus pass dinging green every time. He smiled a small, honest smile, and I saw a boy underneath a man. Someone who thought if he did everything perfectly, people would finally stop being hungry around him. He touched my wrist, not like a rich man claiming something like a human asking. Love didn't crash in. It arrived like rain. We found a rhythm that doesn't belong on a vision board. Arguing on Mondays, figuring it out on Tuesdays, planting herbs on Sundays, reading to kids on Thursdays, him sitting with other men on Fridays to talk about fathers and fear and how success fails to answer. It's not glamorous, it's not content. It's more alive than anything I've ever known. But I promised you a controversial ending, and here it comes. After the share transfer, after the headlines, and the quiet work, and the loud lawsuits, the lawyers brought a prenup, the size of a phone book. Clauses like barbed wire designed to protect the trust, the company, the legacy, and, if you squint, us. It would keep tabloid teeth dull. It would keep vultures circling elsewhere. It would keep numbers neat. And it would keep us technically apart, even while our lives keep choosing each other. Cole slid it toward me the way he slid that black card months before, but this time he didn't say sign, he said, "We can do this, or we can do something else." And we sat there for a long time, tea going strong, talking about fairness and fear, and whether love needs paper to survive wealth's weather. Is a prenup protection or a prophecy? If you love someone who has more than you've ever seen, do you protect them with contracts or with the daily work of telling each other the truth? So I'm asking you, was he wrong to test us with those cards? Was I wrong to spend money that wasn't mine on people who needed it more than I do? Is surveillance ever justified if you're guarding your heart? Or is it poison, no matter the dose? Does ambition become deception the second it starts speaking for someone else? Should a man be allowed to give away what he built if the people around him claim it belongs to them now? And that final one, the one we're living inside, do we sign the papers and sleep easier, or refuse because love shouldn't come with a scoreboard? Tell me what you think, not in theory, in the lives you've seen. Your block, your church, your shift, your kitchen table. If this story hits something true, drop a like. So the algorithm doesn't pretend we're invisible. Subscribe if you want more real voices telling real stories. And please, share your take in the comments. Argue, agree, bring your receipts, your grace, your questions. If it were you, what would you have done?